Today we are going to start how to attempt exam question. This session is about the techniques that are required for doing exam question. History, paper 1. Paper 1 history, it has one compulsory question, and if the compulsory question has A and B part that are source based question. As you can see from the question 1 of question part A of question 1 is a source, a text, a paragraph. A candidate is supposed to study this source and then answer the question that is given below. Basically, you have to keep in mind two important points, two important things. Number one, candidate is supposed to provide the answer from the information that is given in the source alone. You cannot provide information from outside of the source. So you have to depend entirely on the source. So no outside information is required. So this is 3-mark question is very important in the sense that it is very easier to get 3 out of full marks in this question. So what you have to do is you have to, for example, I can read out for you. According to say source A, Mir Jafar was unpopular as Nawab of Bengal. Identify 3 ways he was unpopular. So you have to basically identify 3 ways as to why he was unpopular, and you have to locate or find the information from this paragraph alone, and then you have to provide all these 3 ways from this paragraph, not outside of the paragraph. This is how you will be able to achieve 3 out of 3 question. You can also some students often ask that as why can they just copy all the information that are relevant. You have the choice to paraphrase or rephrase. You can write down the information, you paraphrase the information from the same paragraph. The important thing is that you have to write the information that is given in this paragraph only. Okay, now coming to the question B part of question 1 or compulsory question. This is a painting. As you can see, you can have a photo, and you have to basically look at the photo. There are how we are going to attempt this question. Number one, you have to look at the surface feature. What are the surface features? Surface feature means that the things that you can that are clearly visible in the picture or in painting. As you can see that this soldier is carrying light. The other one also has Tipu Sultan is resting on the lap of a soldier, and the soldiers are carrying swords and so on. So these are all the things that are visible. These are called surface features. Now what you're going to do is you have to basically identify the surface features, and then you have to look at you have to derive the ideas from the surface features. You have to derive valid inference. This means that, for example, as you can see here, one of the surface feature is Tipu Sultan is resting on the knee of a soldier. See, this shows that he is no longer, he is dead. So that means that this is a sad incident, this is a tragedy. So this means that you have to, the surface feature is that that Tipu Sultan is resting on the knee of a soldier, and that means this shows that he is dead. And this means the information, this is surface feature, and the inference or the idea that you are getting out of this surface feature is that this is a tragedy or a sad incident. In the same way, you can see that he is surrounded by soldiers. So this, as you can see in this painting, that he is surrounded by soldiers, and so this means that he is an important personality, and he is given respect. That can also be its inference or the idea that you can derive from this. So this is how you have to basically you have to do two main things, three things. First, you have to identify the surface feature. That is the step one. Secondly, you have to, from that surface feature, you have to drive the idea or inference or the idea that what does it mean. And then you have to, thirdly, you have to relate it to the contextual knowledge. This means that you have to relate the surface feature and the idea that you are driving out of it. You have to connect it to the knowledge that you have learned from the books, the Cambridge endorsed books, etc., etc. And for example, we can have I can explain it with an example here. This, as you can see, Tipu Sultan is resting on the knee of a soldier. This is the surface feature. You can see from the picture clearly that he is resting on the lap of a soldier. And then the idea that you drive is that it was a sad incident because he is dead. Okay, now this related to the contextual, connect it to the contextual knowledge. This means that the death occurred in the fort Seringapatam. That was the capital of the state of Mysore. And so Tipu Sultan died on 4 May 1799. So these are the information that you have learned already from the books the Cambridge endorsed sources. So this is, then you can then you have you can see Tipu Sultan's body was respected. It was an unexpected incident. It was a brutal death. It was a brave. It was a brave soldier's death. So that means that he died fighting and he didn't surrender. See, so this means that he is a very brave, and he is a very he is showing his he is not afraid of the enemy and is able to fight. So this is the information that this is the contextual knowledge that you can connect it with the inference and surface features. So this is how, if you attempt this question, you if you are able to derive valid inference and connect it to the contextual knowledge, that means you will be able to achieve 5 out of 5 or at least 4 out of 4. You will be producing high level response. Now coming to the 4-mark question. 4-mark question is important because this question, it is very easier if you produce accurate answer of for a 4-mark question. That means you will be able to obtain 4 out of 4 marks, full marks. Now what skills are you are required to demonstrate to produce in this answer? It is assessment objective 1. As I have told you before, that assessment objective 1 means that you have to produce, you have to recall the knowledge that you have learned from the books, and you have to use it in order to produce the answer of the exam question. Okay, so mainly you have to basically I can tell you what are the example of 4-mark question. For example, the command word that is largely used for 4-mark question is describe or what or who. See, so here I have an example for you. Describe the aims of the All India Muslim League. This means that you have to highlight, you have to basically just mention the key aims of the All India Muslim League, and if you are able to accurately write 4 accurate aims of the All India Muslim League, and with some sporting detail, you will be able to get 4 out of 4 marks. We have the indicative content here. That means that this is the suggested content that the Cambridge has provided to as an example to produce answer to this 4-mark question. To protect the political rights and interest of the Muslims in India. This is point 1. To advance the political rights and interest of Muslims in India. As you can see here, it is 1 mark to counter the growing influence of Congress. The formation of All India Muslim League was also aimed at countering the growing influence of Congress, because as you have studied that Congress had become like a Hindu-dominated political parties, where in which the Muslims were not able to fully protect their rights, so they needed a separate political party that could protect their rights. So anyhow, you can just very slightly, or you can develop very little. Okay, so this is how you can produce. You can write four aims, but ideally, as you can see, one, two, three. You have here 6 points, six aims, key aims of the All India Muslim League. So basically, what is required is that you have to produce 4 points, four facts, four sets of information that basically address the question accurately. And if you do this, you will be able to uh, obtain 4 out of 4 marks. But ideally, mostly teachers suggest, recommend that a student, a candidate should write between at least 5 to 6 facts, six points, so that if one is not accurate, or one is not showing the full or accurate accurate point, then the remaining extra points would compensate for that. So hopefully you will be able to understand how to attempt a 4 mark question. This is very simple, and this is very short, and if you are able to do this write this answer accurately, you will be definitely be able to obtain 4 out of 4. Now coming to the 7 mark question, here is the mark scheme, generic mark scheme. As you can see, for 7 mark question, we have three levels, and the skills that are required to produce the answer to 7 mark question are defined in assessment objective 1, as you can see, and assessment objective 2. This means that assessment objective 1 refers to the skills that shows that candidate is supposed to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the past through historical explanation. Okay, we can now just start from the bottom. As you can see, level 0, this means that the candidate has either has written nothing, or whatever he has, the candidate has written is not relevant or is not worth any mark. So level 1 is general answer, sorry. This means that candidate starts slightly, he just start addressing the question, and he writes a valid general comment, but this comment doesn't have specific knowledge. Level 2 is so if the candidate writes achieves level 1, this means the candidate is eligible for 1 mark. The level 2 is candidates in at this level starts identifying or describes using relevant and accurate contextual knowledge. This means 1 mark per identification. For example, if you have the candidate, if 7 mark question, the command word is explain why, or why. Why the Mughal Empire? Why did Mughal Empire uh, decline? Why did the Mughal Empire start declining following the death of Aurangzeb? For example, this is 7 mark question. So if the candidate is able to identify one reason, only identification, not explanation, that means he will be able to, or he doesn't explain it fully, or he doesn't highlight explain the question with development or contextual knowledge, that means the candidate is able to achieve between 2 and 4 marks, depending upon how well the candidate did. Now level 3 is the highest level for 7-mark question. As you can see, now the ideal condition is if candidate gives one reason, one explanation, that means the candidate is eligible for 5 marks. Now what does it mean by one explanation? One explanation means that candidate identifies one reason and explains it, but this explanation is not a developed one. See, it is not a fully explained in detail. So that means in that case, but explanation is only one. That means one reason is given with some explanation. If candidate does this, the candidate is able to achieve 5 marks. But if the candidate gives two explanations, that means the candidate will be eligible for 6 marks, one more mark. But if the candidate uh, gives two explanation but one developed explanation, in that case the candidate is also able to achieve 6 marks. But as you can see, if the candidate provides two developed explanation, that means the candidate is eligible for the marks between 6 and 7. So this is the generic level of a mark scheme that I try to explain to you. Now we can have an example. I have for you, um, one moment. Okay, so there is a 7-mark question response example. As you can see, the question is, explain why the Mughal Empire declined following the death of Aurangzeb. As you can see, this green area here shows is the point. This means that this is the one reason. This is reason number one. What is this reason? The reason is that the death of Aurangzeb is also followed by succession disputes. This means that uh, why does why did the Mughal Empire decline? One of the major reasons was succession disputes, and this is the point. The death of Aurangzeb also followed by succession disputes. This represents a point, uh, the argument, the point or the main idea of that you are trying to communicate in this paragraph. Now this is point, and the next that you can see in blue area is the evidence. As you can see, Aurangzeb's sons started fighting against each other for the throne. This is the evidence of the point. Okay, now the area that is this yellow area shows that the explanation, as you can see, is okay. If is Aurangzeb's death was followed by the succession disputes. Why? This is the point. Okay, evidence is Aurangzeb's sons started fighting against each other for the throne, for the Mughal emperor, for the position of the Mughal emperor. So this means this is point, sorry, evidence, and now this is explanation how these words became common among the successors. The contestants competed for support from the army and court nobles and divided them. It required huge financial resources to make wars. They drained away the Mughal treasury. Also, the army of one province was moved against the other and was no longer effective to check revolts and invasions. This means that basically explanation is basically showing that how succession disputes basically led on to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Similarly, in the second, this means that you have given one reason with explanation, you are eligible for marks between 5 and 6. Okay, this is one explanation. The second explanation, as you can see, is showing the second reason. Aurangzeb's successors showed no effective leadership. This means that lack of leadership also led on to the decline of the empire. And here is the evidence. They largely gave administration into the hands of their ministers, because good leaders or the competent leaders, effective leaders, they rule they lead themselves and they don't depend on their they don't uh, gave administration fully in the hands of the minister as in the case of the Mughals. So this is the evidence, and here's the explanation. Explanation means you have to basically connect the evidence with the point, and you have to show, in this case, you have to show how the Mughal Empire basically declined by way of poor leadership. Okay, so this is this is one more explanation. So you have, here we go, we have two explanations. This means if you uh, provide two developed explanation, you are eligible for marks between 6 and 7. But I have given here a third reason as well, and I often recommend I think mostly teachers recommend to students that they should write three reasons for 7 mark question in three paragraphs, so that if one paragraph is not accurately explained or the development is weak, then this means that uh, the extra paragraph that you have written, that could be compensate for that. Okay, this is the 7 mark question. Hopefully you have got some idea as to how to do it. Now coming to 10 mark question. 10 mark question is, first we have to look at the mark scheme, the Cambridge mark scheme, generic level response, the skills that are required for to answer this question are AO1, assessment objective 1, and assessment objective 1 or 2. This means that you have to basically recall from your memory the knowledge. You have to select from that knowledge and put it in order, and then you have to apply it. This is assessment objective 1, and assessment objective 2 means that you have to explain, give explanation, at the same time you have to make judgment, or you have to do evaluation or even analysis and interpretation. But in this case, what you need to do is explanation and evaluation or judgment. Okay, how we are going to do this? Basically we can start from level 1. I would basically start from level 4, because this is the level that from which we can build on to get to level 5, the highest level. Level 4 is about in this, if a candidate writes one explanation of each side of the issue, this means the candidate is producing one-sided response. As we will discuss it with an example, I have given an example below. Okay, so basically, if one-sided response is produced by the candidate, this means the candidate is eligible for 7 marks at the most. And if two explanation, that means, or one developed explanation of one side of the issue and an explanation of the other side of the issue, that means 8 marks. One more mark. Okay, two explanation or one developed explanation of one side. But if the candidate is also an explanation of the other side of the issue, this means that you have 10-mark question. For 10 mark and 14 mark question, they are basically in these question, candidate is supposed to do comparison, and comparison means between view A or view B. You have a view A, for example, and then you have a counter view, a counter argument. You have an argument A, and then you have an argument B. So you have to write in support of argument A, and at the same time you are going to write in support of argument B. This means, but if you write in support of view A, this means you are producing one-sided response, and in that case you are eligible only for 7 marks at the most. But if you start explaining the other side also, the view B, that means you will be able to obtain 9 marks. All right, even between 8 and 9 marks. So this means that if you give two explanation from each side, from both views, developed explanation, that means that in that case you will be eligible for at the most for maximum 9 marks out of 10. Okay, now coming to level 5. Level 5, what is the difference between level 4 and 5? Level 5 is if you add one more skill to level 4, and that is evaluation or judgment, that means you will be able to achieve level 5. So in that case, if you have provided two explanation on both sides, and if you add with these explanation, if you add an evaluation or judgment, that means you are eligible for 10 marks. Okay, so this is how you will be doing 10-mark question. You have to keep in mind that this judgment is supported by relevant and accurate contextual knowledge. Obviously you have to know what does it mean by judgment. What does a judge in the courtroom does? A judge basically listens to both parties, and in the end a judge gives judgment. In the same manner, you have to look at both views, both sides uh, of the of the argument, of the you have to look at the both sides that are given that are required for the question, and then in the end you have to highlight which way, which view uh, do you support the most and why, and that would be your judgment in the same manner as the judge does in the courtroom. Now here is an example for a 10-mark question, and I have given the candidate response from the original candidate response from the Cambridge exam, and this script, this question is original question, 10-mark question, and the candidate, this question is marked by the Cambridge examiner, and we will discuss what is the question here. The question is, was the work of the Christian missionaries the most important reason why the Indians opposed British attempts to westernize them between 1750 and 1850? Explain your answer. 10-mark question. Basically, the question, what is the question? Try to, and first you have to carefully read the question so that you can understand it. You have to fully comprehend the question so that you can address the question and your answer. The question is that in India, Christian missionaries were obviously they were doing Christianization in India. So Indians, and they were westernizing the Indians. So was this the most important reason? Was this the most important reason that led on to the opposition by the Indians? So were the Indians opposing? Uh, was the work of the Christian missionary the most important reason why the Indians opposed? No, Indians were basically opposing the British rule. The question is, was this opposition caused by the Christian missionaries? So this is the question. This means that you have to look at, first you have to discuss the work of the Christian missionaries. See, and then you have to relate how it was how the Indians were opposing it, and then you have to also highlight the other reason, that there were other reasons. For example, there was cultural reasons. The English, the British introduced English in India, and this means that the Persian was overthrown, and Hindi, Urdu, and all these regional languages, they were basically uh, they they were marginalized. So this means that Then the sati, that was associated with the Hindu religion, that was also that also caused a resentment among the Indians, particularly among the Hindu community. And at the same time, you can also write that there were economic factors, for example, that were also causing resentment among the Indian Muslims. So this is how you have to write down the work of the Christian missionaries. This is given in the question, and after this is first paragraph and this is the second paragraph. Okay, and in these two paragraphs the candidate has basically highlighted the work of the Christian missionaries and why the Indian basically oppose it. And then in the third paragraph, as you can see, the British it starts. The British introduced co-education system. This means that the Christian missionaries were also it was not the only reason why the Indian were opposing the British. They also co-education was also one of the major reasons why the Indian were opposing them, because in co-education the Muslims were observing Parda, obviously. So Parda was not observed in the co-education system, and this is how the Indian Muslims they become started showing resentment. So this is highlighted here. Then at the same time, as you can see, yes, the British understood railways. They introduced railways. That was also, although this was you know an efficient mean of transport, still the Hindus were annoyed at the thought of the British were westernizing. So railway means the introduction of railways in India means the westernization in India that was very much associated to the Western, you know, the Western, society or Western style of, thing. So that was why Indian opposed it. No, in the end, I would now read out to you the evaluation. The British replaced. I can just let me find out actually the evaluation. Yes, British replaced English with Persian as official language. This was another cause of resentment as Hindus became uneducated and so jobless. So this means that the candidate have basically highlighted the point, the factor that was given in the question, and at the same time the candidate highlighted the other factors, and in the end the candidate has provided an evaluation. But the evaluation is not developed here. Okay, evaluation is there but it is not developed. So the candidate the Cambridge examiner has awarded 9 out of 10 marks to this answer. Now coming to the most important question, that is the 14-mark question. This is firstly we can discuss the generic level mark scheme. We I would discuss start from level 4. Level 4 means that the candidate in this level, if the candidate produces an answer by achieving level 4, this means that candidate has this is 14 mark question is a comparative is a question that involves comparison. This means that that means that comparison is always between two things. So two things mean the both two sides, and if the candidate gives one explanation of each side, one side explanation, but I think I can start from below, from the bottom, level 1. Level 1 means that the candidate is just giving valid general comments, but that doesn't address the question, or it lacks a specific subject knowledge. In that case, the candidate just identifies some of the theme that is related to the question. In that case, the candidate can be eligible for marks between 1 and 2. And but from level 2, candidate starts describing the issue, and the candidate also uses relevant and accurate contextual knowledge, but it's mere and description. Okay? It's not very developed or anything. So if candidate does this, he is eligible for marks between 3 and 6. Now coming to level 3, at this level, candidate starts explanation of one side. This means one explanation. If the candidate is able to give one explanation, not develop, only explanation, that means the candidate is eligible for 7 marks. But 2, in case of 2 explanation or 1 developed explanation, the candidate is able to achieve 8 marks. Now, if candidate provides an additional explanation or an developed explanation, that means, but as you can see here, this is one-sided response. The candidate at level 3 is giving explanation for to once to produce answer of one side. See? He is not giving explanation to the other side at this stage. So at the most, the candidate could get marks between 7, at the most 9 marks. Level 4 is the level that candidates actually start addressing the question more accurately by engaging both sides of the issue. This means that you have different scenarios here. If candidate is able to give one explanation of each side of the issue, this means each side one explanation of one side and one explanation of the other side. That means the candidate can get 10 marks. 2 explanation or 1 developed explanation, that means the candidate is able to achieve at the most 11 marks. And additional explanation. Now at this stage, candidate is basically provide if the candidate provides 2 developed explanation from both sides, that means the candidate is able to achieve uh, 12 marks if everything is if the response is accurate, fully accurate. Now level 4, if we add evaluation, developed judgment or developed evaluation, that means the candidate achieves level 5. If at this means that explanation at the top of level 4 with an evaluation judgment supported by relevant and accurate contextual. Obviously your candidate has to, explanation means the candidate has to give developed or explanation, and the explanation at top of level 4 with a developed explanation or judgment supported by a relevant and accurate contextual knowledge. So basically, as you can see this heading, explanation with evaluation and judgment. Explanation means two explanation from both sides with evaluation and judgment. But I would add here developed. As you can see here, italic, the word develop is showing importance. They are trying to show its importance, that at this stage evaluation should be developed. That means the judgment that the candidate is going to write, it should be based on like a full paragraph. See, now here lies the difference between 10 and 14 marks question. Generally teachers recommend that student should attempt 14 mark question, 10 mark question the same way as the candidate is supposed to do 14 mark question, and the candidate should write the same amount of content. But there is a slight difference. As you can see here, the difference is that for 10 mark question, candidate is not supposed to give developed explanation. See, but but 14 marks question candidate is required to produce developed explanation. That's the difference between uh, the two, a very slight difference. Okay, now coming to the example of 14 marks question. Here is an example uh, that I have given, and this is the original answer response, the candidate response from the Cambridge exam, and this question is marked by the Cambridge examiner, and we can discuss how the candidate basically attempt the question and what are the comments given by the examiner. The question first, the question is, was the attempt to achieve a better understanding with the British the most important contribution that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan made to the Muslim cause during the 19th century? Explain your answer. The question is basically that Sir Syed made contribution to the cause of Indian Muslim. He uh, he was working for the interest of the Indian Muslim, and one of the things that Sir Syed did was that he improved the relations between the British and the Muslims, and he basically uh, you know try to clarify misunderstanding that the British were having about the Muslims. So the question is asking this question. It is asked that was uh, the and the relationship between Muslims and the British was basically improved by the effort of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So was this the most important contribution? So this means you are supposed to write down that yes, this was the one of the most important contributions. You can explain it in maybe into yes, you are supposed to you are supposed to write it down in two paragraphs. You have to explain it, and then you have to write down that yes, there were other contributions as well. For example, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was trying to he basically coined the term two nation theory. So he, in a way, his political contributions were also important. For example, he introduced two nation theory that was very important because it led on to the it basically later on it formed the basis that that basically led on to the formation of creation of Pakistan later. And at the same time, you can also write down other contribution that Sir Syed also uh, improved the education of the Indian Muslims. For example, he established scientific society. He established various schools and also college. So all his educational institutions you can also write down. You can, so that means you are going to write down the reason, oh sorry, his contribution that are given in the exam in two paragraphs, and then you can also write down the other contribution that he made to the cause of the Indian Muslim, and in the end you have to write a judgment, or judgment means that you have to decide. Now it's up to you, it's up to the candidate. Judgment means it is purely candidate's own understanding, on his typical his individual uh, uh, you know idea as to what does candidate think is the most important contribution. The candidate is in the evaluation paragraph, the candidate is supposed to uh, give his opinion, his judgment, that which was the most important contribution, and the candidate is also supposed to provide reason for that with some development, as we have discussed just discussed in the mass scheme, that the candidate is supposed to provide developed judgment. See, now I can just read out to you this judgment that this candidate has produced in the end. It starts from thus. Thus, it can be seen that political reforms were more important as the two-nation theory paved proved sorry paved way for formation of Pakistan, which is why Sir Syed Ahmad Khan is known as father of Pakistan movement. See, this is how. One moment. I think I should start from. Okay, one moment. I am trying to find exactly. Okay, stood for. Okay, yes. So basically, verb post. He is trying to highlight. He has explained in the previous lines this reform and suggested a code and cap. Okay, so basically, so that they have. Okay, he also gave the two-nation theory as at the Urdu-Hindi controversy 1867 when Congress argued for Hindi as the official language and Muslims stood for Urdu. This made him realize that Hindus and Muslims were two very different nations. So uh, this is the explanation or development of his evaluation with the two different demands, and thus a, a partition of some sort of was required. Thus, it can be seen that political reforms were more important. So basically, the candidate has, according to his view, it is the political reforms, the two-nation theory, that was the most important contribution that made by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and he has explained it. He has basically developed this judgment. So this means now we can see the examiner's comments of the examiner, the Cambridge examiner. The candidate began their accurate and well-argued response by describing the ways in which Sir Syed Ahmad Khan attempted to achieve a better understanding with the British. This part of the response was able to achieve the maximum marks within level 3. The candidate then went on to discuss further contributions made to the Muslim cause by Sir Syed, which were well explained and evaluated. Now look at this word. This means well explained. Well explained means fully developed and evaluated. That means the candidate is also giving evaluation. He is also giving, the candidate is also providing his judgment. And overall, a resulting mark achieved was the maximum within level 4. This was an excellent answer, demonstrating authoritative knowledge and a clear understanding of the question. Now, if I ask you why this candidate was not able to achieve a 14 out of 14, well, one of the things that I have noticed here is that the candidate has not basically provided. I was thinking that at this stage, I told you before that this was an evaluation with developed evaluation. It was not basically. Two nation theory was highlighted by this candidate as a different contribution. It was basically one of the contribution. The candidate is discussing his contribution. He was not at this stage. He was not providing the judgment. Judgment starts from thus. Thus it can be seen. Now here is thus it can be seen that political reforms were more important as the two-nation theory paved way for formation of Pakistan, which is why Sir Syed Ahmad Khan is known as father of Pakistan movement. So this is the evaluation. This represents the evaluation, but it is not fully developed. If the candidate was able to develop it, if the candidate was able to write down more, develop it, the candidate could have achieved 14 out of 14 marks. So hopefully this was all that I have for you for today. So hopefully we will discuss next lecture we will discuss something more important for you. Thank you.